The room hung heavy with silence as I felt the keys, cold and sharp, biting into my palm. I could have just handed them to Jack, let him walk away clean. But no, instead, I told him where they were, my voice low, teasing, like a match struck in the dark. He didn't even flinch. That's when I knew he remembered every damn thing that went down before, and maybe, just maybe, I wasn't ready to let those keys go. Before we dive in, if you've read this before, don't forget to like and subscribe. It means the world. If this is your first time, you picked a hell of a story. Thanks for being here. Let's get to it. The coffee mug warmed my hands, steam curling up as I took a slow sip, too deliberate to care, too focused to dismiss. My robe draped loose over one shoulder, the belt knotted tight at my waist, a quiet defiance against the morning chill. Morning light spilled through the kitchen's tiled backsplash, glinting off the counter's curve and the metallic sheen beside the stove. I heard the door click shut before I saw him. Jack strode in like he still owned the place. Not loud, just sure, familiar, like someone who still knew every creak in these floors. "Seen my keys?" His voice was soft, almost amused, like he was playing a game he'd already won. I didn't look up right away. Took another sip, set the mug down, tilted my head just enough. "On the hall table," I said, nodding toward it. He didn't move. I mean the ones you took before I left. The pause that followed wasn't long, but it was heavy, like a blade hanging in the air. I met his eyes, dry and steady as ever. "You left them behind, Jack, and you damn well found them too." I stepped past him, my bare feet whispering on tile and wood, close enough to feel the heat of him but not touching. The robe shifted, its loose tie swaying as I moved. On the table, the keys sat exactly where I'd placed them. Neat, deliberate. I reached for them, lifted them, the metal catching the light. He was still behind me. I could feel it, like a shadow that weighed too much. I didn't turn, just said, soft as sin, "They're right here if you still want them." He didn't answer with words. His footsteps came closer, the air shifting as he moved. Before I saw him, I knew he was near, close enough to notice, but just far enough to keep me guessing. "You sure you don't want to keep them?" he asked, his voice low, brushing my neck like a blade's edge. I half turned, just enough to glance over my shoulder. I didn't say that. "Jack." My fingers tightened around the keys, their teeth digging into my palm, the metal warming in my grip. But I didn't offer them up. He stepped closer, silent. His hand grazed my side, not pulling, just resting there. I held the keys tighter. Then I shifted my grip, and they slipped, clinking softly on the hardwood at our feet. Neither of us moved. When he bent to pick them up, his hand brushed my ankle, slow, deliberate, like he was testing the waters of a forbidden stream. His eyes caught mine from that low angle, calm, waiting, watching to see what I'd do next. I whispered, "Last time, you were louder than you meant to be." He stood behind me, silent. "I know," he murmured, barely audible. I didn't move. Neither did he. Not until I felt his hand again, not at my waist this time, but just above it. A touch that burned through the thin fabric of my robe. I didn't stop him. His hand stayed there, steady, purposeful. I held my breath but didn't back down. Instead, I leaned into him, my shoulder grazing his chest, the robe's edge slipping as I turned to face him. He didn't flinch, didn't smile, just looked at me like we both knew where this was headed. My hand slid behind him, fingers trailing over the rough denim of his jeans, dipping lower until they slipped into his back pocket. Not for the keys, for something else entirely. He stiffened for a second, then let out a long, slow breath. "Think you forgot something else," I whispered. His hand moved, no hesitation, sliding from my waist to the belt, pulling me closer. I grabbed his wrist, guided it lower. "Ask again," I murmured. He did, not with words. His hands gripped where they landed, firm, leading me back until the hall bench pressed against my thighs. He didn't ask, just lifted, effortless. I gasped softly as I landed, the robe parting slightly as my legs shifted to balance. One of his hands held my hip, the other rested beside me. My fingers found his shirt collar, tugging it straight. He stood close, silent. Then both his hands moved to the robe's belt, loosening the fabric just enough. The room felt cooler for a split second. I looked at him, sharp, still waiting, then reached forward and pulled him in. We were close now. It felt right. I tugged him closer by his waistband, and he let me. His body pressed against mine, his warmth closing the gap between us. His breath met mine, quiet, intimate. I leaned up, my lips brushing his jaw. Not a kiss, not yet. Just closeness, intentional. His breath caught, and I felt his fingers dig into the bench beside me as my mouth lingered at his throat. The robe slipped further off my shoulder, exposing the curve of my collarbone to the morning light. He didn't speak, didn't need to. His hand rested on my thigh, firm, careful, moving upward. I leaned into it without thinking. His other arm found its way behind me, holding me steady. Our chests brushed for a moment, the heat between us quietly building. Then came the stillness, his mouth hovering near mine. Suspended. Not kissing. Just that maddening sliver of space between waiting and wanting. I shifted slightly, parting the robe with one hand to reveal the soft line of my shoulder. His eyes followed the motion. Then his hand followed, pressing against the bare skin I'd offered. I reached for his shirt, pulling it off his shoulders. It hung for a beat, then hit the floor. My hands followed, tracing his chest, memorizing its shape, its warmth, the quiet tension beneath my touch. My mouth found the center of his chest, warm, steady, slowing my breath. His breathing shifted, subtle. One hand stayed behind me, the other near, holding firm. He leaned in, adjusting, his hand at my waist, my legs shifting to rest beside him. We were close now, all breath and tension and silence between choices. Our foreheads touched. His eyes found mine. My breath quickened, warm, shared. His hand slid behind me again, under the robe this time, pausing near the curve of my spine. I went still, aware of every point of contact. He leaned forward again, enough for me to feel his focus, all on me. We were close, steady, letting the silence stretch. His hand rested at my side, quiet, unspoken. I reached between us, my hand on his waist, gripping the fabric. Our movements were slow, fluid. The robe parted further as we pressed closer. My breath grew ragged. His followed. He shifted, guiding me down onto the bench as his hand circled my waist. My fingers curled into his back, holding him, holding myself. A sound escaped, not loud, but sharp. As my body stretched, a small breath slipped out. He lowered his face to mine, and this time, he didn't stop. The kiss found us. Rougher now, unrelenting. No hesitation. His hand moved over my hip, deliberate. I leaned into him, still breathing into his mouth. We moved together, still locked in that rhythm. The bench creaked beneath us as my hand threaded into his hair, holding him close. My body was pulled forward, caught in the quiet intensity between us. My voice caught, not in words, but in breath. I said his name, faint. Between gasps, he pressed his forehead to mine. The moment hung. Another breath, another pulse between us, and I stopped holding back. My body leaned fully into him, head tilting back. My focus drifted for a second. I was close, holding him, arms locked tight. The space around us went still. He held me steady, close, breathing, both of us silent. Somewhere in that quiet, I reached down, fingers slow and sure, and slipped the keys into his front pocket. Not because he needed them, because I wasn't ready to stop. Be honest. If you were her, would you step closer? Or would you wait to see where it leads? Tell me in the comments. I'll read. And if you haven't already, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for reading.